Hi everyone and welcome to this new tutorial. This time we're going to talk about Renderstacks. Um, Renderstacks, as you may know, it's an amazing plugin by Chang Sueun, and this is the page. You can go here and see what the tool does. I'm going to give you a really quick explanation for the very beginner, and you'll find out what it does and the most useful tools in this plugin and the what I use in production, um, how I use it in production. This tutorial is free, so you know that in order to support the free tutorials, I'm gonna give you a quick tour of the paid ones in Patreon, in my Patreon. So let's recap what happened in the last tutorials. We talked about how to redo an effect, a knitting effect with Tyflow splines, Tyflow. Um, this is what it does basically. Let's see. Yeah, here we are. Well, you've seen this video, this short video on my YouTube channel as well, and I made a tutorial about this. And also, another thing that I've just recorded is a tutorial about the interaction between Phoenix FD water and Tyflow particles, so that the Tyflow particles interact. There is a two-way interaction between the water and the particles. This is like active bodies, but it's so much simple and powerful as well because you have all the tools in Tyflow to, I don't know, change the shape of the particles when it hit the waters or stuff like that. And again, this is I think it's for mid tier. Sorry. Um, yeah, that's it for the new juicy stuff, and there's new stuff upcoming. Um, I can give you a sneak peek of what I'm about to record as the next paid tutorial. So here it is. This is the new tutorial I'm working on. It's about a freezing effect where any object can become frozen, and these are the particles. Um, as you can see, the shape is designed to look noisy, but with some order that remembers the freezing of. I did watch some slow motion freezing of soap bubbles, and also there is a official sample file that does something like this. This is what the new paid tutorial will be about. There is some heavy stuff as well, so that the final result will be super cool. You can see the splines being generated. Um, yeah, this is it. There's more stuff in the file, so I'm gonna dig deep in this effect and make it as procedural as I can, as always. But yeah, this is the update about my Patreon channel, and let's go on with the Renderstacks tutorial. Okay, here we are. So first, the bad news: I will not be able to share the scene because this contains Chaos Cosmos stuff. But the good news is that you can download the same object if you own V-Ray or Corona. You can just download the same objects. This is like milk steamer, and this was called espresso machine. And then if you look for coffee or pancakes, you'll find, or breakfast, you'll find the objects. So what is Renderstacks? Renderstacks is a scene manager basically that makes um, how do I explain this? It's really simple, but this is one of the things that it's so simple it's hard to explain. So you can basically show in the scene only the objects and layers and other group of objects that you want, and change materials to some of them or all of them, and turn on and off lights, and then render them in a breeze. And so, if you work in any kind of, I don't know, visual effects production, you will know that in the same scene, you will want to render separate passes like a shadow pass and an atmospheric pass, a beauty pass, a particles pass, and stuff like that, because the compers want freedom. And so, this is an ideal tool for that. I'm going to show you the interface. So you're going to start like this, and there is a base um, layer, okay? Base pass. And as you can see, that's all you see. Because I didn't add any parameters to this pass, my suggestion is to add some default ones, the most used ones, and then save default value. Let me show you. So you right click and add P modifiers. And let me show you one of them just to understand what it does. So obj props render is a P modifier that um, basically matches this panel, and also if you use V-Ray, this panel as well. So where did I hide my Renderstack window? Sorry. Yeah, it's in the other monitor. Here we are. So as you can see, I right click and edit, and it is green. This is because it's in the base pass, which means that every other pass that I will create after this one will inherit these properties by default. So there's a few things to know here. All this stuff is about object selection. And here it tells me right click the below list to add property. So I'm going to right click and add the ones that I use normally. You can always modify this afterwards, but I want renderable, visible to camera. Yeah, I'm going to just select them. And yeah, this can be okay to start. And here it says base pmod obj selection is empty. Again, the selection, so the selection panel is this one, and it just shows which objects will be affected by the changes that I can make here. Just I'm gonna use all. So all the objects will, every time I'm gonna click here, all the objects in the scene will be modified by this modifier, which will set all the objects renderable, visible to camera, etc., etc., and disable met object, set the alpha contribution to 1, etc., etc. This is the default. And I'm gonna add some other one and then show you how to save this as a default file. So let's add frame range. Here it is, and set it to active time segment, and then which is the default, and then the render output V-Ray. This is amazing because what it does, let me change this because I never use, this is referred to 3S Max project. I never use those. What I do is right click and scene folder, I think. Scene folder, yes. And get rid of PRJ. And this are like wildcards, are tokens actually. The yeah, token list tokens, which just show you that the render file will be saved in the scene folder with the scene in a subfolder with the scene name, in a subfolder with a scene name underscore pass full name. So if I create a new pass named beauty, will be scene name, which be Renderstacks pattern underscore beauty. And EXR, of course, is the default, is the industry standard. And I basically never touch anything else here unless I have some special needs for I don't know, separate render channels because I don't know, I need the colored alpha for refractions and stuff like that. But that is it. And just this pass saves my life so many times because I don't have to go and manually set the um where is it? Yeah, what's going on here? Okay, and then here, and this should be here in the yeah, the V-Ray raw image file. It basically saves this, activates this, and saves this, and all the render elements will be embedded in the EXR file. And this is my default. So if I add some I don't know, render element in here, you can see that by default it saves this one. And this is mandatory. Some software will not recognize your render elements if you do not add this one. So Renderstacks does add this render element by default. And then, I don't know, you can add Multimate and V-Ray, I don't know, Specular, for example, etc., etc. And it's going to save all the render elements inside the XR. And then I use usually DaVinci or oops, sorry, you see my desktop background, and it does that by default. And every time you I don't have to set anything else here because it's all set in here. And if I do a new pass, for example, beauty, you can see that going here and clicking here is gonna use the tokens to create a folder named beauty and then give the proper name to the file. And you can use rules. You can go use the two dots to go back one folder and then up one folder to just customize where you want your files to be saved. Let's go back to the base pass and add, I don't know, the last uh, modifier, in this case render params, which is parameters for V-Ray. And you can, of course, this is valid for Corona or whatever render, Redshift or whatever render you're using. I'm gonna use this one and the noise, and then if the motion blur is on or off, and the motion blur samples probably, but this is okay for the tutorial. And this means that I can change the render parameters for each pass. So let's get rid of the beauty for now and just go under preference and save startup file, which means that every 3S Max file that you create now, and if you hit on Renderstacks, you will have this as a base. Now, you basically never render the base. You create new passes. In this case, let's make beauty latte, and I'm gonna show you why. Um, and rename this camera A. Okay, so why camera A? Well, I have two cameras here. I can rename this one to A and this one to B. Okay, which means that, of course, I have a camera modifier and I can use camera and tell this path to render from the physical camera A. Okay, if I want a duplicate of this, I can just hit on D and rename this, call it B, and in the camera modifier, select the camera B. And this means that I can swap between those two and have the all the same settings. I can modify the settings. I can instantiate the settings if I want. But the what changes is just the camera. And so I can just render those two. Click on render. And if you have backburner or deadline or whatever network rendering manager is gonna send renderings to your network rendering. Or you can render locally. So I can hit render and then hit on local render, and it's gonna do as many renderings as the as many passes I have here. Okay, so let's go to the let's see what happened here. I'm inheriting every modifier that I've set on the base, but one is green, which is the camera, because I right click, I add the camera here, and by default, it creates a camera modifier in the base as well. You cannot have a modifier in any pass if there isn't a default in the base. For example, the base object props rendering is set to all, which is smart because so it reset every object. But then if, for example, you wanted here an object casting, I don't know, visible to reflection, but not to the camera, you would add the very same modifier and just find a way to select this object and change its appearance to not visible to the camera, but visible to refraction. Okay, this means that we will start to work with selections. Selections maybe is the hardest thing to understand, but they're really easy. Let me explain. So the easiest ones are selection sets. It says there's no selection sets in here, but I can go here and select this milk steamer and just call it and press enter. I just created a selection set with one single object, right? That's it. And so if I select now this selection set, it selects the milk steamer, everything that's in the selection set, and I can set it to non-renderable. And now let's be brave. I'm gonna save this. Let's be brave and try the V-Ray IPR. I must say that the Corona one is superior because this one crashes from time to time. But yeah, as you can see, this property here made the milk steamer non-visible to camera, but still visible to refraction. Okay, and I can just disable this this property using P, if I recall correctly, and now it becomes black which means that the modifier is not active anymore. So if I go back to if I like switch, and now you can see that the milk steamer is back in rendered, because its property here, renderable, is not changed by the modifier. If I want to change it, press P again, just refresh the pass going back and forth, and now object properties, and as you can see, it's not renderable. Okay, so we have seen this. I'm going to use the obj props render for this selection examples, because it is one modifier where you're going to use selections as a lot. So layer set, there is nothing. If you right click, there is a layer set editor. Basically what this does, it allows us to select multiple layers like this and this, for example, and give them a name like in the selection set. Okay, and now I can see here, and now I can pick it, and the selection will be everything in those layers, but not the sub layers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 objects are the ones selected, and not the ones in the espresso machine layer. If I wanted to select the sub layers as well, I should use the nested layer set. Okay, and now it selects 10 objects because it goes inside the nested layers, and if I add sub layers as well, it will go down and down and down. And I can always right click and it shows me what is selecting, showing me also the sub layers that is selecting. Okay, I can click on the layer, and this is just one single layer. For example, on only the kitchen. It's gonna be easier if I probably if I show you the selection instead of the object properties here. I can delete this one. Let me show you for the visibility, which is what gets what is made visible in the scene. Add P modifier, visibility. Okay. Let me close this one. So again, layer set, it hides everything except what's selected in what is visible in the kitchen example layer set. Right click, I can see that the kitchen layer and kitchen stuff layer and everything that's under those layers is visible. It hides automatically everything else. So it hides the default layer and it hides the espresso machine layer. Okay, if I use the nested layer set instead, same thing, but the nested layer is shown. And if I use the single layer, I can pick only the espresso machine layer. And if I use the nested layer, and for example, kitchen stuff, it's gonna unhide this layer and the sub layers, the nested layers as well. We have seen the selection set, just the milk steamer, for example. And now well, all, of course, is everything, and it's gonna show everything. Give it, and let's just change. Okay, and now everything is on. But let's see my favorite one, which is path name. Path name is the simplest one and probably the most powerful for some reasons, because you, for example, you right click and the editor shows up, and as you can see, you can add something in here, and this something is the objects names. But for example, in this case, this guy is called milk steamer, and I can right click here and paste. And now this is the direct name of the object that I want to be visible. So if I go to path name and pick milk steamer, is gonna show only that. Okay. Um, this thing supports wildcards. So for example, I can see here that there is a couple of things named espresso, and I can use wildcards, okay, and add. And in the visibility, I can click that. And now everything that does espresso in their name is gonna be selected and visible. Okay. Why I like this so much? Because it allows me to go on the most powerful selector in Renderstacks, which is this one. By default, it creates an object selection, obj set editor, object selection with the name of the pass. I'm okay with this. I'm gonna show you what it does. I can click add and add a row in the object selection, and it asks me what kind of selection is that. Is that a layer selection, a nested layer selection, a path name, or whatnot? So I can add, for example, a layer set, and the layer set, we know that there is kitchen example, right? And it's showing me everything. I want to change it to nested layer set. And again, everything, but I want to hide everything that's named espresso. So I can add another row and go into path name, use the espresso wildcard and use it as minus. So you can do Boolean operation with visibilities. And this is amazing. It's gonna be so useful when you create passes. But now that we've seen the how the selection works and how the most common um, um, modifiers are, let's create the proper pass. So I'm gonna delete this, um, remove and remove, and in the editor, I can actually go in the layer set editor and kitchen example, get rid of it. Okay, so no more kitchen example. So I want, for example, I want a nested layer set. Okay, and there's everything in there. And this is the visibility that I want. So I'm gonna add nested layer set, kitchen nest. But as you can see, there is a few stuff that I want to hide. For example, in the place of the latte, there is also this little espresso cup. So what I can do here is hide the espresso cup because I don't want to render that, because that's I'm doing the latte one. And also this espresso machine latte should be visible because uh, it should be visible when there is the latte, basically. So what I'm gonna do is go to the path name and just select this one and this one. Sorry. And also the latte because I'm gonna need it afterwards. And now I have path names for everything. And in the beauty latte, I can just say that the visibility of the beauty latte is kitchen nest. So everything, but remove the espresso cup. And now, if I render this, Let's save again. Sorry, but I don't trust you, IPR. You gave me so much pain. Okay, and now as you can see, let's say that this was a sequence. My espresso cup is hidden, and I have only the latte. And this you can replicate here. Um, you can copy this modifier and instance the modifier. And now you can see that there is it's in bold, and I'm using the very same uh, visibility modifier. And now in the other camera, same selection, same visibility, etc., etc. Okay. Now let's duplicate this and rename it. I'm pressing D to duplicate and R to rename it, and I'm gonna call it espresso. Okay. And the first thing that I want to do, is make unique this one. So right click and there should be make unique. Okay. And then I want to rename the object selection because if you don't, and if you make changes here, they will be here as well because the object selection is the same. So be really careful. You want to rename and give the a unique name. And now you can modify the object selection. So on with the espresso and off with the latte. And also let's hide the espresso machine latte as well. Okay. And now we have the new object selection. And as you can see, I did hide the tool to make latte from the camera and show the espresso cup. Okay. And again, of course, you can just duplicate this. I think, yeah, how do you, yeah, duplicate pass instance. And now I can just rename this and camera B. And I can just make this unique and select camera B. And I've done a new pass in like a couple of seconds. Let me show you something else, just the last thing. Let's say that you have the back on camera A. The art director wants some options for the, I don't know, for the pancakes. And so you duplicate this and you rename it syrup. Okay. And let's just add again. First thing I want to do in brand new passes is press Q to make this unique and change this to syrup. Okay, so what the director wants me to do is change the shader for the syrup to honey, for example, and hide the strawberries. So what I know that it's so easy to do is just select berries, right click on path name, paste this here, and add another path name. So path name will be berries, and I can get rid of that. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a nice trick. This is I'm old school, so I use the classic material editor more often than the Slate material editor. and just create a V-Ray material. And let's give this, and yeah, just glass, for example. And then in the fog color, okay, and 10, I don't know, 100, yeah, two red or yellow, yeah, something like this. Let's call this honey. And I'm not gonna assign it to the geometry, which is called syrup. What I'm gonna do again is copy this, right click, path name, add the path name, and here I'm gonna add the material modifier. And as you can see, I created a material modifier. In the base one, there will be a material modifier because everything visible in all the passes needs to be in the base one as well. And here I can right click and add the selected objects from the scene. And here I can just tell it get from classic material editor active slot. And now we changed the shader to honey. Yeah, I need to maybe depth equal to 1, probably. Yeah, let's real zoom. Sorry, it was a really quick shader, but you can see that it works. And even 0.5 maybe. Yeah, now you can see the honey. And I hid the strawberries. And you can see, let's disable real zoom. Yeah, it's disabled. You can see how easy it is to make passes. And now you can just select all of them and or select just a few of them and render them in a breeze. And that's it. That's what basically what Renderstacks does. And I think it's an amazing plugin and everyone should use it. Please notice that if you want to study it, the non-commercial has basically everything that's it's in the commercial one. Is just time limited, but you can just reinstall that after it expires, and it's just missing very few features that are in the commercial. If you use it commercially, please consider buying it. It's really cheap for what it does. And if you are a 3ds Max artist, you're gonna use it every day. I just do not submit renderings anymore using the render setup panel. I just use Renderstacks. It's so easy, and it just sets everything for me. And you can swap between the passes like this. And as you can see, you can change the camera. So easy, so powerful, and I just love it. And once you've done the first setups, propagating them is super easy. So if you want honey in here, you just duplicate this and remember to make this press Q to make it unique. And yeah, let's stop yeah, here it is. And now you can just rename it like I don't know, latte honey. And yeah, okay. Sometimes to refresh, you have to click outside and click inside as well. And then path name and hide the path name, sorry. Okay. And hide the berries, minus, and you can see that I hit them. And then you can go here and Control C and Control V. And again, this is changing the material. And if I render again, I have to refresh. Okay, and now you can see that it applied the material to the syrup, and now it's honey, and it was just a matter of seconds. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Believe me, there is a few stuff that I think that it's mandatory to use in 3ds Max. One is Tyflow for sure, and the other one is Renderstacks for now. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.